for many, their third act isn't retirement, it's a time of reinvention, maybe starting their own business and becoming an entrepreneur. Now, we think of entrepreneur as a modern term, but the fact is that a can-do, let's try it spirit has been flourishing in our area for generations. And those lessons are on display in the exhibit, Entrepreneurship in the Western Reserve, at the Western Reserve Historical Society's Cleveland History Center in University Circle. Angie Lowry is the director of the Cleveland History Center, and she's here to show us what we can learn from old-time entrepreneurs to make our own present-day efforts successful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, this exhibition or exhibit is the profile of 4 different companies, and one of which, they started some in the 1800s, the early 1800s. Yes. So what is it that we can learn from these past entrepreneurs that would actually apply 200 years later?
Well, a few things. First, they weren't afraid to take risks. The earliest entrepreneur was Frackville Check. Frackville Check was one of the 4 entrepreneurs, and in the Taylor Chair Company that we talk about in the exhibit. And both of those individuals were early settlers in Northeast Ohio in the Western Reserve. And so their first entrepreneurial act was just coming here. And the interesting theme between these 4, we have so many stories to tell. We had to pick 4. The interesting theme is that they all make common goods that we see every day. We have prints, we have dinnerware, we have hand tools, things that we use in our home today were invented by these entrepreneurs, and not necessarily just invented. They took an existing idea and they made it better.
Okay, well, let's start and talk first about Taylor Chair Company. Okay. So tell us a little bit about them.
Well, they were one of the earliest entrepreneurs in the Western Reserve. Mr. Taylor came here and started making furniture for his own home when he arrived in Northeast Ohio. And then he started making furniture for other settlers who were too busy trying to make their living, and they needed those furnishings. And then his business evolved into selling furnishings to offices, to libraries, many that we see today. The company actually lasted almost 200 years. It just closed in 2012.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. It would be nice to say they're still around.
It would be.
And the next entrepreneur, you mentioned his name earlier, he was so worried about other people learning his techniques for hardening the metal and tools, he never filed for a patent, he kept it to himself.
That's right. I guess that's one way to stay in business, right?
Yeah, so you're the only game in town.
Yeah, Frackville Check was a blacksmith. Came from Eastern Europe, from an area that we now know today as the Czech Republic. And he made tools. He made hammers, he made punches, he made screwdrivers. And so many of the tools that he made we still see today.
Wow, okay. Yeah. And then you've got a homesteader, immigrant, and we've even got a woman entrepreneur. Who's that?
We do, Miss Joan Luntz. Joan Luntz is still in Cleveland. She lives in University Circle.
Oh, wow.
Her husband made a hard plastic that was used in World War II. At the end of the war, they looked for a new use for this product, and she came out with what we know as melamine, the plastic dinnerware. Yeah. Her first line was called Brook Park Ware, named after the suburb we all know, Brook Park.
So, really, after that?
Yes, yep.
Oh, how about that? And the last one is Morgan Lithograph, and they're still around, I understand.
They are, and we use them today. Many of the graphics that are in the exhibit were printed by Morgan Litho. They started in 1866, just 1 year after the end of the Civil War, and much of their product was advertising. Ringling Brothers was one of their big clients. They did much of the advertising and prints for the Great Lakes Exposition in '36 and 1937, and also for the National Air Races.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great history here. If your third act involves innovation, maybe the best way to go forward is to look back at success stories from the past century. By exploring this exhibit of entrepreneurs at the Western Reserve Historical Society, you can see a little bit of that. My thanks to Angie for highlighting these hometown business heroes.
Thank you.
For more information, call the Western Reserve Historical Society at 216-721-5722 or click to www.wrhs.org.